Welcome to FlowOps, the podcast where strategic thinking powers smart decisions. In episode 3, we dive into meeting management from structuring agendas to guiding productive outcomes. Let's streamline the chaos and turn meetings into momentum.
All right, deep dive listeners, let's be honest here for a second. How many times have you stared at a meeting invite, felt that familiar sigh, and maybe wondered if this hour of your life was truly necessary?
Oh, absolutely.
Or maybe you're the one sending the invite, feeling that pressure, to make it productive, not just another time sink.
Yeah.
Well, you are definitely not alone in feeling that way. The conventional wisdom often paints meetings as, necessary evils, right? But what if we could flip that script? What if they could actually be dynamic, productive, maybe even enjoyable?
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? Because on one hand, our sources really hammer home that consistent communication from leadership, often through meetings, is just vital.
Right.
That those weekly team touch points, a team can easily drift. Maybe you feel like work is, just a job. But the flip side is just as stark. Poorly managed meetings don't just waste unbelievable amounts of time. They can actively erode trust and really hurt a manager's credibility. It's a fine line to walk.
It really is. So our mission today is to cut through that complexity. We've done a real deep dive into your sources to pull out the most powerful, maybe even surprising nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, the practical stuff.
Exactly. Our goal is to give you a blueprint, something you can use to transform your meetings from those dreaded obligations into real power sessions. Okay, let's unpack this. It strikes me that the magic, if you can call it that, of a truly successful meeting often starts way before anyone even sits down.
Oh, definitely.
It's all in that hidden work, the preparation.
Indeed. Our sources couldn't be clearer on this. Right. Meticulous planning and preparation aren't just, good practice. They form the absolute bedrock for everything else.
Everything. Like the agenda, materials.
Yeah, your agenda, your materials, even figuring out participant roles. This proactive approach, it isn't just about reducing your own stress. It's really about eliminating those unexpected curveballs, the things that can completely derail a session.
Okay, so if preparation is the bedrock, where do you even begin? What's the first step to lay that foundation?
Well, a critical first step, and honestly one that often gets rushed, is to truly define your meeting type and purpose. Really nail it down.
Okay.
Are you brainstorming new ideas? Are you trying to make a critical decision? Is it just a progress update? What is it?
Right, because they're different.
Totally different. And our sources strongly advise sticking to one, maybe two primary types for a single meeting.
Why is that?
Because that clarity then dictates everything else. It guides your next really crucial decision. Who should actually attend?
Ah, yes, the guest list.
Exactly. And this isn't about inviting everyone you know just to cover all angles if they aren't going to contribute. It's about being surgical.
Okay.
For problem solving, you need the people who can offer solutions. For decision making, you absolutely need participants who have the authority to act.
So no bystanders.
Pretty much. The deeper insight here is that a vague purpose leads to a diluted, kind of wishy-washy discussion. Whereas laser focus ensures every single person in that room is there for a specific reason, adding specific value.
That makes a lot of sense. And once you've nailed down the purpose and the essential players, then it's about figuring out the when and where, the logistics.
Absolutely. The when and where.
Yeah.
And the research consistently shows that for meetings demanding high energy, those brainstorming sessions or complex problem-solving discussions, that 8 to 9 a.m. slot is golden.
Early birds.
Yeah. You catch participants before they're deep into their daily tasks, minds still fresh. The next best window, apparently around 3 p.m., gives people time to recover from lunch.
Ah, avoiding the post-lunch dip.
Exactly. You really want to avoid scheduling too close to lunch or the very end of the workday. Why? Because, as one source bluntly put it, humans after lunch are usually lethargic.
Huh. Okay.
And focus just tends to wane when people are starting to think about heading home. It's really about respecting those natural energy cycles.
And the physical space itself, does it truly make that much of a difference? Or is any room fine?
Oh, it's astonishing how much it matters.
Yeah.
A well-lit, spacious room, ideally one with windows, can fundamentally shift the whole meeting dynamic. It just prevents that bogged down, distracted feeling, And if your topic is sensitive or confidential, privacy obviously becomes paramount.
Right.
And for external visitors, think about this. A room close to the main entrance isn't just convenient. It sends a subtle message of respect and good organization. The environment isn't just a backdrop, it's like an active participant.
Interesting. This all leads us, I think, to the heart of any good meeting. Designing that agenda. It's got to be more than just a list of bullet points, right?
Oh, it's way more. It's like the meeting's silent co-facilitator. And the SOAP technique, which came up in the sources, provides a really clear framework for building one that genuinely works.
SOAP. Okay, break that down.
Right. So first, seek topics from your participants. Ask them for their estimated time needs. Set a clear deadline. This isn't just crowdsourcing. It actually empowers them, gives them ownership.
Okay, S is seek.
Second, organize these topics into a logical flow. Assign presenters, put down firm time estimates, get it structured.
Oh, organize. Got it.
Third, assess which topics are truly relevant to your defined meeting purpose. This is where you have to be a bit ruthless, scratching out anything that doesn't fit. Protect that focus.
A for assess. Makes sense.
And fourth, pick the final set of relevant topics that realistically fit your allotted time. And always, this is important, leave about 10 minutes as a buffer for potential overrun.
P for pick. And the buffer. Crucial.
Crucial. And one more thing. Always inform those whose topics were removed and maybe briefly explain why. That builds transparency and avoids confusion. SOAP. Seek, organize, assess, pick.
Seek, organize, assess, pick.
I like that. Okay, so you've got your purpose crystal clear, your ideal attendees lined up, and a rock-solid agenda built with SOAP. Now it's time to move from that strategy to the more tactical stuff, gathering supplies, getting the word out.
Exactly. This is where the gathering materials phase comes in. And another handy acronym here is SHOW-WS. It helps keep it all straight.
Okay, SHOW-WS, let's hear it. Stationary. This isn't just about having pens. It's about thinking strategically. What we need based on the activities. Sticky notes for brainstorming, flip charts for capturing group ideas.
Right, tailored supplies. S, stationary.
Handouts. The real insight here isn't just getting them. It's consulting presenters well in advance, like ideally a day or two before.
Why so early?
To make sure you have the absolute latest versions, not some draft, and that you have enough time for printing without scrambling.
Good point. H, handouts.
Organizer. Something like a portable accordion file. Might seem minor, but it keeps materials tidy and lets you distribute them professionally, seamlessly. No fumbling.
Ooh, organizer. Nice touch.
Writing tools. Obvious maybe, but don't overlook having a variety. Pens, markers, highlighters. Enough for everyone.
W, writing tools. Check.
And finally, special requests. Maybe presenter needs a specific poster, a custom visual aid, something unusual. Confirm these beforehand to avoid any last-minute panic.
S, special requests. SHOW-WS. Okay, that's practical.
Very. Stationary, handouts, organizer, writing tools, special requests.
And when it's finally time to send out those invitations, I imagine there's a best practice there too, something that sets clear expectations and gets people to actually show up prepared.
Absolutely. The 3P approach for sending invitations is really key to that.
3 Ps.
Okay. First P, be crystal clear about the purpose. Don't just say planning session. Be specific. Planning our budget for the first quarter. It immediately frames the discussion. And always attach that detailed agenda we talked about.
Clarity on purpose. First P.
Second P, clearly state the place and time. Avoid any TBDs. Those just create uncertainty. Provide exact location instructions or, clear virtual meeting links. Ambiguity creates friction.
Place and time definite. Second P.
And the third P, establish a pact for commitment. Ask for responses within, say, 48 hours. Include a clear cancellation policy and make it explicit, something like, upon acceptance of this invitation, you are expected to attend.
Whoa, okay. That sounds a bit firm.
It can be softened, maybe add a line like, your participation is greatly appreciated, but the underlying message needs to be clear. Your time and their time is valuable. This isn't optional if you accept.
Got it. Purpose, place and time, pact. The 3 Ps. Makes sense.
Okay.
Beyond the invite itself, there's that whole world of logistical arrangements. Seems like a lot can fall through the cracks there.
Oh, precisely. And these can really make or break the attendee experience. These range from confirming the physical space. Is it on-site, off-site? Do you need specific partitions, certain furniture setups? All the way to travel arrangements for attendees if they're coming from elsewhere. Think transportation, maybe even security awareness for a big event.
Travel, right. What else?
Your meeting is longer. You absolutely need to consider food. Is it a light breakfast, full catering, restaurant reservations? Hunger kills energy and focus.
Definitely. Keep them fed.
Don't overlook audio and visual needs, projectors, screens, sound systems.
Yeah.
And maybe having a tech assistant on standby. Proactive troubleshooting is the name of the game here.
Yeah, nothing worse than tech fails.
Exactly. And finally, professional signage. Seems minor, maybe.
Yeah.
But clear signs can significantly reduce attendee stress, just guiding them smoothly to the right place.
It's all those little details adding up.
It really is.
And then the final step before people walk in. Literally setting the stage, setting up the room itself.
That's far from trivial. Setting up the meeting space makes a huge psychological difference. The key: arrive early. Set up everything before the first participant walks in.
Why is that so important?
It just eliminates that impression of being unprepared. It signals professionalism right from the start. This includes the basics, of course. Enough tables and chairs, working AV, comfortable room temperature.
The essentials.
But it's those extra touches that can really elevate the experience. Think about name tents, maybe a professional welcome message on the screen, some light background music as people arrive, folders with all the meeting materials neatly inside, even, candy or mints.
Little things again?
Little things that show care. However, big caveat, you absolutely must gauge the audience and meeting purpose. Meaning, you wouldn't want a celebratory, fun atmosphere with upbeat music for a meeting about, say, serious cost-cutting measures. It has to align. Context is everything.
Right. Read the room even before they're in it. And the physical arrangement of the chairs and tables, does that actually impact how the meeting flows?
It certainly does. Choosing a physical arrangement should align directly with your planned activities.
Like how? Give me some examples.
Okay, so a conference style, that long rectangular table that works well for shorter focused meetings, maybe under 30 people, where you need close interaction.
Okay, classic boardroom.
Right. A U-shaped seating arrangement is highly effective for face-to-face interaction with larger groups. It really promotes open discussion. Everyone can see each other.
U-shape for interaction.
The T-shape also works for larger groups, maybe allowing for a clear leader or panel at the crosspoint. And then classroom style, rows facing the front, is obviously best when participants primarily need to take notes or watch a presentation. Works for larger small groups.
So the setup depends on the goal.
Exactly. The core focus is always comfort and making sure everyone can clearly see the presenters and any materials being shown. The spatial dynamics subtly but significantly influence interaction patterns.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. We live in such a digital world now, and meetings are definitely no exception. There are tons of electronic options that can potentially enhance this whole process.
Oh, absolutely. Technology, when it's used thoughtfully, can significantly increase the reach of your meeting. You can connect participants globally, expand how you disseminate information, how you record it.
What kind of tools are we talking about?
Well, our sources highlight a bunch.
Yeah.
Obvious things like presentation software, PowerPoint, Keynote, great for organizing materials, creating handouts. Then you have electronic whiteboards for more dynamic idea capture, collaborative brainstorming in real time.
Like a digital flip chart?
Exactly. And then all the remote connection tools. Web meeting programs like Zoom or Teams, dedicated video conferencing systems, even just straightforward telephone conferencing. The possibilities are pretty vast now.
And this is a big, but from my experience, you can't just throw tech at a meeting and expect it to magically work, right? I've seen that go sideways so many times.
That's such a crucial point, and one of our sources really emphasize heavily. When you're considering electronic tools, your number one thought has to be your ability to use and troubleshoot them seamlessly.
Right. Practice required.
Definitely. Test all the systems thoroughly beforehand. Don't hesitate to loop in your IT department early. It's also really wise to get proper training and actually practice, maybe even in smaller, less critical meetings, before you deploy new tech in a really high-stakes setting.
Right. Don't test it live in the big meeting.
Please don't.
Yeah.
And avoid the biggest trap. Using technology simply to dazzle the audience. Use it only when it genuinely adds value, when it's necessary, and this is key when your audience is actually comfortable and capable of using it too. Frictionless tech should be the goal, not flashy tech.
Frictionless tech. I like that. All right, beyond the tools, you mentioned roles earlier. Setting up clear roles and responsibilities for the people in the room seems like it could make a huge difference. You don't have to do everything yourself as the leader.
Precisely. Establishing clear roles helps manage the meeting way more effectively. It also ensures everyone understands what's happening and what's expected of them.
So what are the main roles?
Well, the main ones are pretty clear. You've got the chairperson. This is the person who directs the proceedings, manages the time, acts as a referee if needed, enforces the ground rule.
The leader, what qualities do they need?
Sources say authority, definitely, but also flexibility, impartiality, and a certain level of maturity to handle different dynamics.
Okay, chairperson. Who else?
Then there's the minute taker. This role requires really strong listening and writing skills. Their focus is purely on recording major points, key decisions made, and importantly, action items, who's doing what by when.
And a key insight there.
Ideally, the minute taker should not be someone who's deeply involved in the discussion itself. That helps them maintain objectivity and focus just on capturing the record accurately.
Right, separate roles. Makes sense. And what about the people just attending, the attendees? Do they have responsibilities beyond just, showing up?
Oh, absolutely. Our sources argue the attendees are maybe the biggest success factor of all.
Really? How so?
Well, while you can't exactly force responsibility onto them, you can profoundly influence it by setting clear expectations beforehand.
Like what?
Attendees should ideally prepare, maybe jot down ideas related to the agenda, actually read the agenda beforehand. They should participate, ask clarifying questions, share their relevant ideas freely, and they need to be productive. Avoid distracting side conversations. Put away the phones unless needed for the meeting.
Preparation, participation, productivity, the 3 Ps for attendees.
Exactly. Now, for really large meetings, you might need additional roles, maybe an extra minute taker, a dedicated greeter at the door, someone specifically managing the AV. But the beauty of smaller meetings is that one person, often the chairperson, can effectively wear multiple hats. It's scalable.
Okay, now let's talk about the main event itself. Actually chairing the meeting. This feels like where your leadership really comes into play, where things can either shine or quickly unravel.
Absolutely. Your ability to get off on the right foot really does set the entire tone for everything that follows.
So how do you start strong?
The signals flow, another acronym from the sources, provides an excellent model for opening a meeting with both confidence and clarity.
Signals.
Okay, I'm ready.
Right.
Salutation, a simple welcome. Introduction, briefly introduce yourself in the meeting's context. Guests acknowledge any special guests.
Yeah.
Need to know logistics, quick reminders like bathroom locations, Wi-Fi info, emergency exits.
Practical stuff first.
Yeah, get that out of the way. Then, agenda and purpose, briefly cover the main points and reiterate why you're all there. Laws of the meeting outline the ground rules, like policies on devices, expectations for participation, how conflict will be handled.
Setting expectations clearly.
Crucial. And finally, segue, a smooth transition into the first agenda item.
SIGNALS. Salutation, introduction, guests, need to know, agenda, laws, segue.
Exactly. And the sources emphasize practicing this opening until it feels natural. It helps you develop your own comfortable yet authoritative style.
And speaking of the agenda, we talked about creating it, but using it during the meeting, it feels like it's more than just a checklist, isn't it? Almost like another participant guiding things.
It absolutely is. The agenda plays such a vital role throughout the entire meeting. It explicitly communicates the topics, who's presenting, the time allotted for each, acting as a constant guide that helps everyone stay focused.
Keeps everyone on the same page.
Exactly. It also provides that clear checklist of what needs to be accomplished. Attendees can mentally track progress, see the beginning and the end, which significantly reduces that feeling of when will this be over and keeps them more engaged. But the key insight here is that you must introduce the agenda properly. Don't just hand it out or display it. Take a moment to walk people through it. Maybe emphasize its importance as your roadmap for the session.
Give it some weight. Okay, now what about those moments, and they always happen, when the conversation goes off topic, but maybe it's actually a valid point. You don't want to just shut it down, but you also need to stay on schedule.
Ah, yes, the valid tangent. That's where using a parking lot comes in incredibly handy.
A parking lot, like for ideas.
Exactly. It's just a designated place. Could be a section on a physical flip chart. Could be an electronic document shared on screen where you note down topics that come up but can't be fully addressed right then. Or maybe they require follow-up later.
How do you introduce that?
You explain how it works right at the outset during the law as part of your signals opening, maybe? Say something like, if important points come up that aren't on today's agenda or need more research, we'll capture them here in the parking lot to ensure they aren't lost, and we can address them later.
So it validates the idea without derailing the current topic.
Precisely. It helps you manage time effectively by allowing you to acknowledge the point, park it, and then gently steer back to the agenda without dismissing the contribution entirely. It preserves focus while respecting input.
Smart. And keeping the main discussion on track, respecting everyone's time, avoiding those dreaded tangents altogether. How do you enforce that without feeling like, a strict school teacher?
Yeah, nobody wants to be that person. It's really all about proactive management, not reactive policing. The S.P technique is incredibly useful here for keeping the meeting on track.
Okay, another acronym, STOP.
Yep. First, set expectations up front about time management. Mention during the opening how you'll handle time. Maybe say you'll give presenter signals at 5 minutes and 2 minutes remaining.
As for set expectations.
Second, time the presenter and any Q&A sessions rigorously. Actually use a timer visibly or discreetly. Stick to the schedule agreed upon in the agenda.
T for time it. Be strict.
Well, firm but fair. Third, overcome any fear you might have of interrupting. It's much easier and less awkward when you've already set those expectations. A polite, just a quick time check, we have 2 minutes left on this point before we need to move on, is usually fine.
Overcome fear of interrupting. Okay.
And finally, politely warn people when their time is nearing its end. Always treat everyone with respect, even when you're enforcing time limits. It's about facilitating progress, not shutting people down. Stoic.
Set, time, overcome, politely warn.
Set, time, overcome, politely warn. I can see how that works. But sometimes, despite your best efforts, meetings just run over. It happens. How do you handle that gracefully without messing up everyone's schedule or leaving things hanging?
Yeah, dealing with overtime definitely requires some foresight and clear communication. Don't just let it happen silently.
So what do you do?
First, acknowledge it before it actually happens if you see it coming. Check if there are any hard constraints. Does the room booking end? Do people have flights to catch or other hard stops?
Assess the situation. Right. Then, warn attendees if you anticipate needing more time. Communicate clearly how much extra time you think is needed. In small meetings, you might be able to gain consensus. Just ask, are folks okay going over by 10 minutes to finish this?
And in larger groups?
In larger groups, that's harder. Consider offering a brief break right at the original end time. This allows those who absolutely need to leave to do so discreetly.
That's considerate.
And if going over simply isn't an option for whatever reason, be ready with alternative ways to handle any missed agenda items. Maybe commit to sending a concise follow-up email summarizing the points, or explicitly save them for the very beginning of the next meeting. Transparency and providing a path forward are key.
Okay, manage it proactively. Now, how do you ensure participants aren't just physically present, but truly engaged and, maybe more importantly, accountable for their contributions or action items?
Right, holding participants accountable. This really starts well before the meeting even begins, and it hinges on clear communication and then consistent follow-through.
How do you set that up?
You start by setting your expectations clearly in advance. Maybe put right in the invitation or a pre-meeting note. Detail what you expect in terms of preparation, active contribution, or specific pre-work.
Be explicit.
Very explicit. Next, gently clarify the consequences, not necessarily in a threatening way, but as a statement of process. For example, you might mention that you'll be calling on everyone for input during the discussion, or that detailed minutes, including action items and owners, will be circulated to all attendees and maybe their supervisors.
So people know what to expect and that there's follow-up.
Exactly. And the crucial final step, the one that makes it all work, is you absolutely have to follow through on what you've said you'll do.
Walk the talk.
If you say you'll call on people, do it. If you promise minutes with action items by end of day, deliver them. This consistency builds respect for you as a leader and naturally, almost automatically, encourages accountability from everyone else involved. They see the process as real.
Okay, let's get real for a moment. Disruptions. They're pretty much inevitable in any meeting, right? Cell phones ring, people need to dart in and out, discussions sometimes just veer wildly off into unrelated territory. How do you manage these things without completely derailing the meeting or, frankly, losing your cool?
Yeah, planning for disruptions and setting those expectations we talked about are absolutely key here, too. For participants who seem to be constantly running in and out, the SIT technique can help.
SIT.
Set expectations at the beginning, let people know about planned break times, or if there are periods where focus is critical. Incorporate frequent breaks, maybe short 5-minute breaks every hour or so. Often, this alleviates the need for people to make impromptu exits.
Build in release valves.
Exactly. And if the behavior persists and is genuinely disruptive, provide timely feedback privately after the meeting. Don't call them out publicly unless it's extreme.
SIT. Set, incorporate, timely feedback. Okay, what about that classic disruption? Cell phones ringing. Or buzzing loudly. Ugh, yeah. Honestly, a simple, polite reminder at the very beginning of the meeting, maybe coupled with small signs in the room or even a note on the agenda, please silence devices, can nearly eliminate this problem. Most people just forget. A gentle reminder is usually enough. It's about proactively creating that focused environment.
Makes sense. Now, what about when the conversation goes completely off on a tangent? Not just a little detour, but way out there. You know, someone starts talking about their weekend plans when you're trying to solve a budget crisis.
Right, the totally irrelevant tangent. The ear technique helps you redirect smoothly without causing offense. First, engage just briefly in the tangent, maybe a nod or a quick verbal acknowledgement. This shows you heard them and helps you gain control of the conversation flow.
Okay, don't just ignore it.
Right. Second, acknowledge that the topic might be valid or interesting, just not for right now. A short, affirming statement like, "That sounds like a fun weekend," or "Interesting point for another time." Then, and this is the crucial part, redirect participants firmly but politely back to the intended conversation. Give me an example.
Something like, "That pizza for breakfast idea is intriguing. Maybe we can discuss it at lunch." Now, let's refocus on the problem of employee morale in the call center. Gentle, acknowledges, redirects. ER. Engage, acknowledge, redirect.
Engage, acknowledge, redirect. I like that. And what about those inevitable personality conflicts? Every team has dynamics, right? How do you stop a healthy debate from escalating into something unproductive or even, hostile?
Yeah, conflict can definitely arise, especially in newer teams or when dealing with stressful topics. When you sense tension escalating beyond healthy, constructive debate into personal attacks or unproductive arguing, you absolutely have to intervene. Calmly, but decisively.
Oh, what's the process?
Our sources advise a three-step approach. First, stop the conflict immediately. Acknowledge it directly. Okay, seems like things are getting a bit heated here, and state clearly that the current line of argument needs to cease. Crucially, don't take sides or assign blame in the moment.
Just stop the escalation.
Exactly. Then, drop the specific discussion topic temporarily. Instruct the conflicted parties, and maybe everyone, to just take a breath, regain composure. This might involve a brief, general pause in the conversation.
Okay, stop, then drop.
Finally, roll into a break if possible. Send the other participants out for a few minutes. Then, address the conflicted parties privately and calmly. Remind them of the meeting's purpose. Reiterate that healthy debate on ideas is welcome, but personal conflict or disrespectful behavior is not acceptable in that forum. Reset the expectations. Stop, drop, roll.
Stop, drop, roll, a conflict fire drill. Okay. Beyond just managing problems, though, how can you make meetings genuinely engaging? Maybe even, dare I say, a little fun? Because let's face it, fun and meeting aren't usually words people put together.
True. But they certainly don't have to be boring slogs. One interesting concept from the sources is the 50-minute meeting.
50 minutes, not an hour.
Right. Deliberately breaking free from that default 1-hour calendar slot. This isn't just about saving 10 minutes. It creates crucial buffer time for attendees. 10 minutes to check email, grab coffee, mentally switch gears, or just walk to their next meeting without being late.
That actually sounds incredibly considerate.
It is. It significantly reduces mental friction and boosts readiness for whatever comes next. But it requires discipline from the chair. A super clear agenda, strictly no side conversations, summarizing action steps efficiently at the end, and sending out notes promptly. It's basically a statement that you value their time both inside and outside the meeting room.
I love that. What about adding some actual flair? Something to really stand out or energize the room?
You can absolutely use games strategically, particularly effective for things like new team introductions or maybe kicking off a product launch.
Games and meetings. Seriously.
Yeah, but with caveats. Make sure the game is from a legitimate resource, not just something random. It needs to fit the meeting's purpose. Definitely avoid games when discussing serious topics like layoffs or budget cuts. And it shouldn't consume too much valuable meeting time. A quick relevant icebreaker or team builder.
Okay, purposeful games. What else?
Giving prizes, even small, token prizes, nice pens, company t-shirts, maybe a coffee shop gift card. These can be a fantastic way to reinforce positive behaviors you want to encourage, like active participation, coming prepared, or even just being punctual. Just be really clear up front on the rules for winning so it feels fair.
Prizes for participation. Interesting. Anything else unexpected?
Believe it or not, one source mentioned simple stuffed magic tricks.
Magic tricks in a business meeting.
Yeah. Not elaborate illusions, but simple, quick tricks. You'd need to practice them beforehand so they're smooth. But apparently, incorporating one seamlessly can be a great icebreaker, reduce tension, and create a genuinely fun, unexpected, and memorable moment. It's really about finding small ways to break the monotony and surprise people in a positive way.
Magic tricks. Okay, maybe not for every meeting, but I see the point about injecting some unexpected energy. So when you pull it all together, you see a meeting isn't just some block of time on your calendar invite. It's actually a powerful opportunity, an opportunity to communicate crucial information, yes, but also to foster innovation and maybe most importantly, to genuinely connect with your team or your colleagues.
Yeah, exactly.
By embracing these kinds of strategies, by really applying these nuggets of knowledge from the sources we've dived into, you can take control. You can ensure that your next deep dive, your next session with your team is not just effective, but maybe even truly transformative.
Yeah, and this whole deep dive into effective meeting management, it really highlights that it's so much more than just ticking boxes or being efficient. It's fundamentally about valuing people's time, their energy, their focus. And it's about ensuring knowledge isn't just shared vaguely, but it's truly understood and people feel equipped to apply it. So this really raises an important final question for you, the listener. As you think about your own meetings, whether you lead them or attend them, how will you leverage these insights, these techniques, to not only run a technically successful meeting, but to actually start fostering a culture where every meeting feels like a genuine contribution, a valuable use of time, and not just another cost or a drain on resources?
That wraps episode 3 of Flow-Ups, because meetings should move things forward, not just move mouths. Like, subscribe, and join us next time as we explore leadership strategies that make systems flow.